So, hello. Nice to see so many people here in this room after the lunch break. I'm one of the guys working here for the Qt company in the Berlin office, and we do all the tooling here in Berlin. And nowadays, that's of course one big part of that tooling that we offer is Qt Creator. And during the keynote, my boss's boss, our CTO, said we are one of the best cross-platform IDEs out there. And my task today is basically to substantiate that claim a bit. And I hope I will succeed with that. My plan is to have some introductory slides and then basically spend the rest of the time with a demo. And afterwards, I have like two more slides with the key points so that people looking at the slides and not seeing the demo can actually benefit in some little way from this here. I tend to be pretty fast with that presentation here. I did it a couple of times before. So I kind of rely on all of you to stop me and ask questions, because if you don't, then we will be out of here in 15 minutes. So, and there won't be coffee yet, so please slow me down by asking questions. So, what is Qt Creator? Unfortunately, I couldn't find a good answer to that on our own website, which is a bit sad. But my second go-to place for information, Wikipedia, has this little summary. And it says, Qt Creator is a cross-platform C++, JavaScript, and QML integrated development environment. The editor features include syntax highlighting and auto-completion, but no tabs. And there are a couple of things I want to highlight here. So the first is we are indeed a cross-platform IDE. So we are an IDE that wants to help, or which has a primary goal of making Qt developers more productive wherever they develop for Qt software. And since Qt runs everywhere basically, the IDE needs to run everywhere too, and with similar features and all the bells and whistles you're used to. So that when you go from one platform, like from a Mac to a Windows machine or a Linux machine, that you still have the environment you're used to and don't have to relearn that Control-A, whatever, does some weird thing on one platform, it does do something completely different on another one. So that's why cross-platform is so important to us. The next one is C++, JavaScript, and QML. As I said before, we want to enable Qt developers to do their work. And these are the three primary languages you probably will run into. By now, we also have a kind of experimental Python plugin, and we have some other people working on a NIM plugin. We had somebody with some code model support for D and Rust and I don't know what, but that's not what we ship by default. So you can get that somewhere or in some GitHub repository somewhere, but it's not in the standard installation that you will get if you download and install Qt Creator. The next really interesting point in this statement here is the integrated development environment. And my understanding of an integrated development environment is not that we have a UI and we stuffed in a debugger and a text editor and some version control thingy and just stuffed it together into one UI and, well, asked everybody here, just use that. But we have, the central part of Qt Creator is the code model. So that basically means Qt Creator does something similar to your compiler in that it parses all the code you write and builds up an internal model of what that code does. And with this information, we do all the highlighting. With that information, we can do auto-completion. And that's way more powerful than, for example, just highlighting every sen in a piece of text or whatever that some other IDEs do. There are lots of others that also have a code model, but still, this is the one central feature I see in Qt Creator, that we have this code model and that we try to integrate all the other aspects into that code model. So, for example, even our version control editor, when you do a commit message, is integrated into the code model, so it does syntax or highlighting of the classes and auto-completion of class names and stuff that we extract from the code you have in your project. So that's what the really integration part is, in my understanding, and what I kind of measure all others IDEs against. So the next point is syntax highlighting, and I kind of mentioned that in passing already. We have a code model, and we use that code model heavily to do the syntax highlighting, so we know this is a local variable, this is a virtual method you are calling here, that's a pointer, and we can do all that. With that information, we can do real good syntax highlighting. We don't have to guess, we know what that is. And the same is, of course, true for auto-completion. So we know what you have here is a pointer, so if you press a dot, we just paint an arrow because it doesn't make sense to have a dot with it. And we only offer stuff that makes sense in that situation because the code model has that information for us. And there's, how do I get back here? Oh my God. Auto-completion. And there's the final thing, we don't have tabs. That's kind of a bit of a religious issue, I guess, we can say by now. We just say, lots of people in our team just think a tab is not a really efficient way to work with 100 open files, because you see just some tiny pieces of thingies you can click without any information. And if we started to implement tabs, then we also would have to, I mean, having tabs is easy, that's absolutely no problem, but making sure you can actually work with those, or you have to drag them around and rearrange them and pin them and group them and all that stuff. So we don't want to do that work, and so for kind of religious reasons, we so far have rejected all attempts to get tabs in Qt Creator. There are plugins on GitHub if you actually absolutely need tabs and can't do without, but we don't do that. And that's what Qt Creator looks like, but let's just go here and see it in real life. So let's do I cannot actually move away from here because that's the only mic I have, but I can use the mouse pointer to point this. Can you see the mouse pointer in the back? Is the font okay, kind of? I'm not sure I can actually increase it at the moment, but okay. So up here we have a menu bar, that's pretty standard. This area here we call the mode bar, which is basically different modes for different frequent tasks you run into while developing stuff. Down here we have a target selector, which allows you to switch between different environment targets. Like as I said before, we want to enable Qt developers, and so we also have very good support for embedded device development. So that basically you can switch between a desktop here and different embedded devices, and we can then deploy to that target and run and debug on device directly. And that's here you can actually switch between the different devices you have set up in your system. Down here we have run, debug, and build buttons. That's just handy shortcuts. Then we have this small text field here, which is a locator, which I'll cover in more details later. And down here we have the output panes, which are basically small windows that you can pop up with different kinds of output from different kinds of processes and whatnot. Yeah, and all the rest you see here is the area for your code. So the Qt Creator is one of the few IDEs you can actually demo with 1024 times 600 pixels and still show text in a font that somebody in the back there can still read. And so we are really proud of that fact. So let me check my notes, what I wanted to show you. Okay, so pretty much the first thing whenever I start with an IDE or with any bigger program is I check out the settings, and I want to point out some areas you might want to tweak. And settings, at least on Linux and Windows, are on Tools Options. I actually don't know what the place for Mac is. Does anybody have a Mac?
Preferences.
Preferences, Qt Creator or something. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't really matter how you get there. You get to this dialog. And there are a couple of things I want to point out here. The first is environment keyboard. And I want to point that out because this here lists all the different actions we have in Qt Creator. So whatever we can do in Qt Creator is listed here. And if you scroll down, you will see there are quite a few things without keyboard shortcuts. So we have quite a few feature requests by people wanting something that we can just close by saying, go to this view here and set it up. So if you're missing a feature, it's worthwhile looking here and adding some new keyboard shortcuts, if that's of any help, or just checking whether there's functionality here, and setting up your keyboard shortcuts as you need it. The next one is the text editor, and I want to point that out for similar reasons. We have our syntax highlighting is basically set up here. And we sometimes have also bug reports and feature requests about, can you highlight local variables and stuff, and you should do that. And we just say, just scroll down here and say local and make that, for example, italic. And now the local variables will be italic, which is my preferred settings. So that's something else I like to do. Any questions so far? I mean, it's already 10 minutes in and nobody asked a single question, so we are soon be done here. So please ask questions. So if there's no questions, then I was a bit quick with closing this. There is also text editor generic highlighter, and I want to point out this area here because we don't have code models for everything out there. I mean, we are well aware that Qt developers have to interact with all kinds of files, and we cannot have code models for, I don't know, whatever. So for that reason, we have something which is a lot simpler, but also gives syntax highlighting, and you can actually download a lot of syntax. Oh, I'm not connected to the internet, sorry. Here you can actually download, click here, and then you get a selection of lots and lots of different formats which you can just download, and afterwards those MIME times defined in those formats will get some basic syntax highlighting. It's not what we do for everything else, but it's better than nothing. So Linux users most of the time already have that installed anyway, but Windows users, that's something you should definitely check out. So, yes, a question.
Syntax highlighting, is it compatible to Kate editor? Because the front line created as provided by Kate.
So the question is whether we are compatible to the Kate editor, and we are using exactly those files, and we actually download them from the Kate website.
So if I introduce something as a new language or whatever, it is sufficient to have that syntax highlighting. I don't have to create a code model, just be better.
So the question is whether you need to have a code model or whether some simple syntax highlighter like this is enough. And well, it gets you some highlighting. So it basically highlights all the keywords and whatever you define as a regular expression. It's not a code model. So you cannot do, when in doubt, you cannot say this is or a keyword and that is part of a comment or something like that. So a real code model is definitely better than what you get here, but it's definitely better than nothing.
How do you provide a code model?
A code model is a lot of code. So let's open a project, and I'm pretty familiar with this project here, which is Qt Creator itself. So I'll just use that as my example here. So you see back here, it's parsing the C++ files. So basically, it's building up the code model. And when that is done, I have all the navigation features I would expect from a decent IDE nowadays. And I want to So what we try to do is have an IDE which is convenient for people that actually use it a lot. So we try to make sure that everything is keyboard accessible, so that you don't have to use a mouse if you don't want to. So when I started Qt Creator here, I passed a little command line flag, which will pop up a little window right in the middle with the keyboard shortcuts I'm using. So, because I tend to not explain some things, and so you can actually see what I'm doing. And the first shortcuts I want to highlight is escape. It doesn't really matter where you are in Qt Creator, just hit escape a couple of times and you're back at your code. So it takes you out of all the dialogues and gets you back into your code and tries to maximize the screen estate that your code can take. That's pretty convenient after a while. Then we have some project view here, which is actually not really meant for navigation. It's meant to visualize the build system itself. But you can still use it for that. So if you have a source app, sources, that's main CPP. That's the main CPP file from Qt Creator. And I want to show one little feature. Can you actually spot it here? I'm really happy with. Did you notice the code folding at the first line? So by default, Qt Creator hides the first block of comments if it's at the very top of the file, because it's a copyright header, and we all know copyright headers are really important, but I don't want to see them all the time. So by default, Creator just folds that away, and you can actually see your code and not the legal stuff. That's necessary, but not really informative. I can also switch to outline view here, which gives me a list of symbols defined in this file. And with that, I can basically go down here and go to the main function. And that's pretty boring navigation stuff. But as I said, that's not very keyboard friendly, is it? So it's not the preferred way. And for that, I want to introduce this little text area down here. So that's a locator, and that's the most wonderful feature we have in Qt Creator. It's amazing. So if you take something away from today, please let it be, oops, that's the wrong key. Let it be Control-K, the keyboard shortcut. Because that pops up this little window down here, and with that you can basically jump around in your code. So I want to open main.cpp, so I have all the main CPPs here, and where's the source one? We have so many main files. Okay, it's at the very top because it's already open. I missed it there. So, yeah, the question in the back? We have a shortcut for all the shortcuts, and that's Control-K. Here you get all of them. If there's nothing in there, you get. So if you just start typing, it will find any file in the project. So main.cpp, I just showed it anyway. What did I do now? I mistype here. So I can just go there by just typing Control-K main, and I'm there. I can do. What happened now? Hello? My laptop just died. Oh no. Come on. Now I'm too stupid to log in. Oh, I was afraid that happened. Oh, the UI crashed. That's wonderful. Sorry for that. That didn't work either. I did the mistake of upgrading my machine on Sunday, and it didn't like the drivers, apparently. I'm awfully sorry for that. That's nothing that Creator is to blame for, I hope. So let's get back. Why is the project already open? Oh, it did save the session. That's nice. Main.cpp. So now I can go to line, I think it was 450. No, that was not line 450, but I can also go just with a dot to any symbol, so main. So here I'm in main again. So one thing I want you to take home if you want to try Qt Creator is the control casing, because the locator is awesome. So you can jump to any symbol, you can jump to any class, you can jump to any method in your project. You just start typing and you just need to have parts of it, so you don't have to have the first part. Type any part that's unique and you will get, it will shorten the list and you can just pick where you want to go. Any questions about that? Yeah.
Where does search, does it index your entire hard drive? Or?
No, it's just a project that's open. So it's the code model basically extracts all the symbols in your project and all that stuff, and that's accessible there. You can also search the file system. You can also run version control commands from there. You can also run external commands from there. You can also search the web from there, but just the navigation stuff is really awesome. Yes, another question?
So it's possible to look up all files the project includes for one single string?
Oh, that's fine. So the question is how to look up for a special string, and that's just a normal search. So you can do Control Shift, is it? Control Shift, yeah. And then you can just search all projects or the current project, whatever, and just search for that string. But that's nothing we can do with the code model, because it could be in a comment which the code model doesn't see, or in the documentation which is not parsed to the compiler either. So that's just a normal search. More questions? Yeah, one more in the back. Yep. Yep. So that's session management. So you basically up here you can go and, where's the session manager? Here it is. Add new sessions, define new sessions, and name them, and just switch between different projects, and the session will keep all the state, like bookmarks, breakpoints, and all that stuff. That's a very convenient feature, but it was not on the list of stuff I wanted to show today. But if you asked, you get an answer. Yeah. So you can save it, you can delete it, you can modify it, copy it, clone it, whatever. And some feature that's really awesome is you can actually, at least for me, you can actually set a UI color. If you go here and just say, I want a red Qt Creator, you can have that. And that's also saved as part of the session. So you can have sessions in different colors, which kind of saves my marriage, because my wife says she only can tell whether I'm playing or at work by the color of my sessions. but yeah, that's not on the list of stuff I wanted to show. Any questions about the locator? No? So, yeah, one more. This locator is basically the one and only navigation tool you ever want.
Well, sometimes I got the problem that I know where my files are, but I've forgotten how they call. So is there any other?
So why do you want to open a file that you don't know what's in it? You don't know what's in there.
Somebody else has written it and you know where he should have placed it now.
You can also search or go for the file system here. Where is that? Search, I think it's F. So you can basically navigate the file system too if you want to.
Right. So I think the same thing as in the project on the left side is what the name of the use, so the name devices. Is there a locator there simply for the file?
So why do you want to open a file that you don't know what's in it? You don't know what's in there. You can also search And I actually forgot something because I was asked to have a raffle with all your attendees. So could you give over around that box? If you want to win a cool Colibri development board, put in the box. Put in your business card into the box, and afterwards we will draw 3 winners, and the winners can go home with a really cool development board. I totally forgot about that because I was so nervous getting started here. I'm sorry. So, one more question, yeah. Yep. It should work. Can we discuss that later? Because I'm not really firm with the QML stuff, and I would probably need to ask a coworker to actually figure that one out for you. Sorry. So the next thing I wanted to show is let's go to the plugin manager for that. Or that's another set of keyboards. So F4 switches between your source file and your header file, which is pretty nifty. And F2 basically is follow symbol. So you can, any symbol you have, you can just go to the definition and find out where that's from. Like go to the C++ headers and all that stuff. That's really handy if you have some piece of code that you're not really familiar with. You can just follow that and look up things really fast. Open documents can be seen here, but we also have a control tab, which will pop up a small window with all the open documents sorted by when you last accessed them, so you can switch between 2 or 3 documents really fast by that way. And we also have history navigation, so you can basically go back and forward between all the points you ever visited in a file and different files with Alt, left, right. And well, that's basically everything I wanted to say about navigation. Should I continue with some more understanding your code kind of features? One more question, yeah.
For quite a while, some shortcuts doesn't work anymore. I especially miss Ctrl-Shift-7 to uncommand select.
Yeah,
Doesn't work anymore.
that's a bug we had in Qt, and we hope it's fixed in 5.5.1.
Oh, good.
Sorry. But I actually saw that worked. It's Shift F7, isn't it? Nope, doesn't work at the moment. I hope it's fixed in 5.5.1. This is 5.5.0 based at the moment. Some more features to understand your code. With F1, you can get help for any symbol. That's actually documented at most in the Qt documentation, so you can get it here on the sidebar for a quick glance, or if you press it again, you get the full screen help and can search in there. And there's something that's really cool. That's, for example, find usages. So I have this method here, set plugin path. Where on earth is that used? So I can just do Ctrl-Shift-U. And down here, I get a list of all the users, and can actually jump there with F6 and check out the code and make sure it's how that works. Ctrl-Shift-U. But everything I'm telling here is in the Qt Creator documentation, so you don't actually have to take notes. Just read the documentation. It's awesome. Let's look for the iPlugin class. And if I spell that correctly, I want this one in the extension system. There's also a type hierarchy, which takes a while to actually open. Did I trigger it?
May I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Finding the usages of the project is huge, and I already found that we need some thousands of other usages.
It searches everything, and you just pick what you want. So
Okay, just let it search.
Yep. It will search in the background, so it shouldn't block the UI in any way, I hope. So the thing I wanted to show is the type hierarchy. That's what you see over there here in the corner, which basically is wonderful when you refactor. So because you can see this class is derived from these classes here, and all these other classes here derive directly or indirectly from it. So if you do something, refactoring in a plugin, in a hierarchy of classes, that's really convenient because you can just find all the places which you have to check. Yeah, so any questions about that? Because then we can start with the fun stuff. So, refactoring. So, what can you actually do to change the stuff in your project and make it more accessible or use better names? I mean, it's more question? Okay. So if you can find usage, you can of course also rename stuff. So you can just do rename, and this initialize method is used quite a bit, but I can just rename it to initialize me and go fire, and now it's changed the whole project. It's just awesome. It's wonderful. So we also have another really nifty feature here, but I need to find some actual code where I can actually show that. This is a bad example, but it's one you can just basically select a piece of text and just ask it to extract that as a function. So rename it test me. It's a public function, and now we call that function that is now created up here. It has exactly the code we had before. All the input data is passed as parameters. The output parameter is returned. And that's really nifty to just take a piece of code and just move it into a separate function just to make it more readable. And that's a feature I use a lot. It's awesome. One more question?
Sounds really sophisticated, but I mean, wouldn't there be different options of how you pass things as parameters?
You can adapt it afterwards, if you want to.
Or you can make a default choice.
That's just the default value. So if I, for example, decide I don't want auto, let's say that's an int, I can just update that, apply a function signature change, and now it's updated everywhere. Or I can say it is a stupid name. Let's call it iterator. Update it again, and that didn't work as expected because it should have updated this one here too.
So output parameters are always references.
I think it doesn't take output parameters. It just takes input and has maximum one or return value. If it has more return values, it doesn't work, and unfortunately, I have to still do it by hand, but it's still really pretty nice feature.
Does any log what has been replaced? And then does there is any text output?
No?
No.
There's no output.
They replace it.
Yeah. Yes.
You don't know what.
If you do a rename, you have a list with all the places. So basically, just like find usage, but you can also just have a text field where you can rename it. It's basically the same functionality. There's some other cool feature I really love, and that's snippets, which are basically just pieces of text you can insert really fast. Like, for example, I do a class, and I complete that to a class derived from QObject, for example. And I have the whole thing in here. And now let's say we want to have private int e. So let's add some getter and setter methods. Bong, here they are. They are not implemented yet, but they're defined here. Where are they? Oh, they're actually implemented already. Cool. Yes, one more question?
Are there any steppings to define those getter and setter methods?
There are.
For example, I just want the get method just called.
There's something in tools, options, C++, somewhere. I don't really remember. You can change that, yes. Something that's also pretty nifty is I can just implement insert virtual methods into that object. So, for example, timer. It's already ticked that it's an override here, and it's really convenient to just insert the virtual methods, the stuff you want, and just pick them in a list, and it's there. You can move the code around, or so if I want to have everything in the CPP file, I can just go move everything to the CPP file. Now it's everything over there. Or I can do something that Qt developers do a lot is I can do a Qt property, type, let's say Qt string, a name, test. That's a stupid name. Let's do test string, that's a bit better. And I have my property definition here, but now I have to implement that. That's a bit boring, so I can just ask it generate the mission functionality, and there it is. So here you have the test string, and you have the setter, you have the signal, and you have the getter. So it can do some really cool stuff with it. So give it a try. It's basically everything I wanted to show. So any more questions, or should we? Yeah.
As you don't have tabs, do you have the splits tree on the code?
You can just you can do it here. There's a keyboard shortcut, but I keep forgetting it. So you can split it, and you can also take that out of the window and have it on a different screen. That's pretty new. We don't do that for long. Took a while to get that properly set up. Any more questions? Yeah, one more in the back.
You mentioned version control earlier. Which version control systems are supported by?
Let me show you. Which version controls do we support? We have plugins for, where are the version controls? For Bazaar, CVS, ClearCase, Git, Mercurial, Perfor, Subversion, and the base classes for everything else. So it's apparently pretty easy to add more. So if you have something that's not supported, please feel free to contribute something. More question?
Can you show some debugging? What debugging?
Debugging. Can I show debugging? I can. Let me try to find something. Do not save. Let me just close everything here. Hello? I don't want to save anything. Let me find a smallish thing to show that with. Creator. In the test there should be something. Debugger. Simple. Let's just Alt-X. Now I just close this here, so it's a bit simpler for me. So this is basically one of the test programs we have for the debugger. It shows a lot of different types, so let's just search for the QImage. Oh, that one is nice. So let's just put in a breakpoint here. Let's build it and debug it. So we now hit a breakpoint. How do I actually close a split view again? There it is. So we hit a breakpoint here. We have this EM up here, which is the image we have. And you get additional information, like it's an image of 200 by 200 pixels in this case. If you want more, you can always go, where is that? It's hard to find that with a change local display format. Let's put it in a separate window. And let's put that on top, because otherwise I will have trouble later. That's the image you have at the moment, which is not surprising because it's not initialized yet. So let's step over it. So now we filled it with EM fill, and that looks like a very reddish color here. And we can just step over it and see what it draws here. It sets a pen, it draws an ellipse, and an arc, and yeah. So we do have pretty nifty support for the Qt data types. We also have pretty good support for standard types. And we have some really nifty pretty printers here. So, but this works best with GDB at the moment. So on the CDB debugger is a bit difficult sometimes. We're currently working on the LLDB backend, which works, but is not really stable at the moment. So mostly because it's acting really weird in the last released version. It's getting better again for the next version. So we hope to have something really solid there soonish. One more question in the back?
Question about the debugger. Do you support remote debugging?
We do support remote debugging on device and all that stuff, yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically a GDB server that we start on the device. We need SSH access to the device, and we need a GDB server. Then we can't basically debug anything.
How can I remove the debugging view to the normal mode?
No! Or you just switch to the other mode. There's a mode bar on the side, so you go to edit or hit escape a couple of times because that always takes you to edit.
Which version of Qt Creator?
This is Qt Creator from the Arc repositories. That's version 3.5. Without any modification, it's standard as I got it from the Linux distribution itself. Yeah?
Why do I need administrator rights for debugging?
You don't.
I need under iOS.
Under iOS,
OS X.
under OS X, that might be the case because they have some security features that prevent a non-privileged process to connect to other processes for debugging purposes. Because with a debugger, you can in theory steal all kinds of secrets internal to the application. Let me just get my slides going. There was one more question in the back. The lady behind you was first. That is supposed to work, but I've never tried it myself. I'm sorry, I'm really not a QML guy. So first, we have a QWidget-based UI, and that's what I'm still stuck with. So my QML skills is really limited because I just can't use it in real life anyway. Sorry, but I can point you out to coworkers that actually know that in any detail you need. So one more question behind her. Why does starting debugging in Windows take so long? Well, that's a very good question. I really can't answer that. I'm sorry. So we use a normal debugger that we get from Microsoft as a backend, and it does whatever it does. I don't know. Yeah, more questions?
Do you have some support for translations management?
There's nothing for translation management in Qt Creator built in. We do have a translation tool separate of Qt Creator. We have discussed whether we should integrate it or not, but most of the people we asked that they don't really need that because they give out the translation tool to some external office that does the translation for them, and they don't really want to have C++ IDE just to translate a couple of strings. So that's why it's not integrated at the moment. Any more questions? Because I think we're slowly getting to it. Yeah, more questions here. Great. Yes?
You said that there is support for remote debugging. Is there actually anything similar to remote building? I mean, when you got a Linux device, for example, and you work on a macOS development machine, that obviously involves cross-compiling.
We do have a couple of solutions for cross-compiling, but not for remote building per se. So we have, well, not in Creator itself, but we have some SDKs that actually do cross-building even on Windows, as far as I know. which have some weird setup with virtual machines that they connect to somehow and then build on them and extracts the binaries again and sends them to other virtual machines to run. So you can do something within that area, but it's not supported out of the box. Yes? I don't get it acoustically, I'm sorry.
What's the difference between the BRO file, the raw file, the BRO file, the BRP file, and all those?
We have an expert for that stuff here, and I'm pretty sure he's the only one who really knows. I can point it to you, yeah. But basically, the profile is the main thingy. The prefile is included into that main thingy and not able to run standalone, and the profile is settings for different features.
I mean, the question came because I came from Visual Studio,
Yep.
and there I have my solution file.
Yep.
And inside my solution, I have all the deploys that I want, very easy.
Yep.
And then I can compile a single deploy or I can compile my solution completely.
Yep.
So the question is how to do that with QtWS15 with all.
So if you have sub-projects, you can actually build the sub-projects.
Yeah, in Visual Studio you have your solution file,
Yep.
which is the file that contains all your projects.
Yep.
And on your project you have the settings for your project, like the library that you're using, like the all of the input and so on.
Yep.
I can actually compile one of the project alone, just by clicking and say compile, or I can compile the solution completely.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
how I can do that with
we're definitely lacking in that area compared to Visual Studio. That's mainly because we need to support several build systems, and well, we kind of are limited to the least common denominator of all of them. That's a bit ugly, but that's the state we're in at the moment. One more question?
Is there anything planned in software modeling?
We're in 3.6, we have some UML modeling tool included. So you can basically drag a file and get some graphics out of that. It was a contribution by one of the people that I spoke last year. So if you have something cool like that, please consider to contribute it, so everybody can profit. Yes?
Do you know any other IDE who would highlight the QML syntax?
No.
Do you do the plugins for the others to be able to?
I'm not aware of any IDEs that can highlight QML, except for ours. But Qdevelop, he just said Qdevelop can do it as well. So, any more questions? Yeah, one more?
Is it possible to pass arguments to make, for example, if you have CMake-based project, then Qt Creator can run CMake, it can run make, but for example, I want to run a couple, several separate makes, let's say make documentation,
Yep.
make project, make tests.
You can have an arbitrary number of make steps, and you can pass any argument you want to those. So you can do that. I can show it after this because my UI crashed again. Sorry. So that's a bit of this more important keys, but this is the one I want you to remember. With that, thank you. There are more links for your enjoyment, especially the Qt Creator manual. If you plan to use Qt Creator, take the time and read it. I try to do it every release. Usually I fail, but I try to do it every release, and when I manage to actually do it, I learn something new in it. So it's a really good resource. I can recommend reading it. And we still have to find a winner. So should I? No, you. So I'll mix. So I will mix, and you will pick some. So the first one is Erik Heldler. Is that? Yeah, okay. Please come to me. You get an official certificate, and with that you can grab your board.
How many more?
2 more.
Oh, a card.
A card. That's Friso Hackmann. Friso? Friso Hackmann. I'm sorry. I misread that. No, Friso Hackmann. He left. Oh. please tell him that he missed out on a board.
Okay.
So, Duk Long Nguyen. Ah, yes, there you are.
Okay, and then
Last one. That's, what's the name here? Ah, it's not just the address, is that? No, it's Stanislaus Reitenbach. Yeah, perfect.
great.
Great. So thank you for your attention, and please feel free to chat me up at any time. Tomorrow I will have a shorter presentation about wizards in Qt Creator. If you are interested in that, I invite you to join me there too. And enjoy the show.